Ciao ragazzi, and welcome to our place in Sicily. By the way, ragazzi means guys, so it's like saying, hey guys. I'm going to talk a little bit more about what we're saving and what we're not saving, how modern are we going. I'm going to talk a little bit, but then show you more. So first, let me just say, when we were looking for a place to buy, we were looking for like a 3-bedroom house. We have 2 kids. And they live in the States, and we thought we'd just get like a 3-bedroom house that allow both of our kids to visit us at the same time, or friends with kids to visit us, and that'll be perfect. It'll be great if it had something outside, whether it was a terrace or a roof terrace or a balcony. We were like really not picky. We didn't mean to fall in love with this palazzo and buy it. That wasn't an accident. It took us a lot of work to do that. It's going to take most of our savings to do it and do it right, because it's way bigger than we need. What we were looking for was something that we could renovate, because we love renovation. So our last house we bought in Boston was a carriage house. We've renovated before, we've loved it. When we renovated 15 years ago, I swear we've been looking for another place to renovate ever since. Not terribly seriously, but it was always in the back of our mind. So when we were moving to Italy, for sure, once we got past we're gonna rent until we know where we wanna live, we decided that we definitely want a place that we can renovate, that we can bring some love to. We didn't want any place that like had last been renovated or built in like 1990, because everything in that house would have been totally usable, probably not to our liking. And I didn't wanna just be like, oh, I don't like those tiles, I'm gonna take them out. I wouldn't wanna be wasteful. So that just didn't appeal to us, and we aren't very modern people. There are really great, beautiful options, probably for less than what we'll end up spending for this. As modern as I get is like a little mid-century modern funkiness, and I especially like it bounced off of something old. I like a play of beautiful design is what I'm always going for, and so that can come from any era as far as I'm concerned. We were looking for something that had some kind of, and the best way I could like say it was like charm, and something that like there was this like little something that we could build on, that we could take that little thing and bring it back to life, or give it new life, or rethink of it. Like for example, in this place we have beautiful ceilings. We also have a first floor that would have been used for farm animals or the donkey and carriage. It would have been used, I've been told at one point the chauffeur lived down there, but also it was storage, and we're going to turn that into beautiful living space. We're going to keep the beautiful terracotta tiles. I think we've shown you these in our videos. It's not a fully flat floor, but it's enough that I don't trip on it, so it's okay safety wise. And we're going to just love up that space. At some point in like 1960s or so, it was rented by a woman who I hear great things about. I have now met her great granddaughter and her granddaughters, and so I love her already. I don't know this woman, and she's passed away, I believe, like 11 or 12 years ago. But it was subdivided down there, and they made it work. They put in a sink. She used the forno out back where we're going to put our kiln, and there's a toilet in a side room that we're going to make Matt's office, but that was just a deposito. So this house has continued to give people a place to live and shelter, in sometimes more grand ways and in sometimes less grand ways, and we're embracing that. So we've had a couple people asking like, oh, I'm a little worried about these cubes you're putting in, and like I was really hoping you were going to save more of this and it was going to be more modern. And I just am here to say I'm so glad they spoke up, and I encourage the rest of you to speak up as well, because that is not what we're doing, but they got that impression from my videos, so that's on me. So I'm going to stop talking to you like this, and I'm going to flip this around and point out some things that we're keeping, so you understand, we do have to get rid of some old stuff, mostly because it's no longer safe, or we can replace it, but it needs to come down for structural reasons. There's a big crack in a wall. But let me show you some stuff. Let me show you, so you feel good if you're that person. If you're the person who wants us to make this a fully modern place, like, that's not gonna happen. There are much cheaper ways to do that. This is a labor of love and a labor of our wallet. We're living sort of, to be fair, paycheck to paycheck right now as we make this work. But we believe this house is worth it, and we're gonna do it. And let's flip this around. All right, I've literally just flipped the camera around to show you what I was looking at when I was talking to you. So what you can see here, and what a lot of the demo stuff you've seen, sorry, my finger is so like out of focus. What you're seeing there is the add-on. So that was just storage space, open. Actually, some of this part here wasn't even built, but the rest of the part that is attached to that, the sort of guest house wing, was open space. It had arches, much like the other part of our house, which right now is still open, and was used to hold wood and a carriage, even though it was a very small garage sort of door opening. It must have been a very little carriage. And so you can see that we didn't take off all the charm of that place. That place kind of had no charm. It was built, I'm sure, in sort of a Sicilian manner, which was, this is space we can use, built on this, and we're going to add an apartment over here by extending this property, closing some of it off. So what we're struggling with, and actually we're not even struggling with it anymore because we've got Igor on the case, is how do we marry that with this? Because it was never considered at the same time. They just basically closed that up on the side of this. So one of the things we're trying to do is find a beautiful way to finish the sort of newer part of the house off, so that it goes well with this. And you can see they've been pulling some of the outside facade. There's a crack over on that side, so we're reinforcing that back corner there. But we're going to try to keep as much of this as possible, knowing that like some things like these doors, they don't work for us because they aren't like weather tight. They were brought in much later, and we need to save electricity and stuff like that. So those were just thin doors, and that part of the house was not really an interior part of the house. It was used as sort of like a business vestibule sort of thing. So you had to come all the way to the top and then come in through the locked door to come up into the main house. We're working on ways. I'm going to pop up a picture of sort of what this side of the house might look like. It's a rendering, it's a loose rendering. There's just some green plants put in here to give you an idea. It's actually already changed a little bit, but what you can see that Igor has done is taken this idea of our old railings, our old iron railings, and some of the iron inside, and what builds this and this modern place, and create sort of what I'm calling like, it's mirroring some of the old house. And not in that it's doing the exact same thing. It's like, it's giving you a clean canvas so that this beautiful old architecture of the main house can sort of exist next to it without it impeding in it. And so he's used simple sort of iron features here and the simple wall instead of the railing to create what I keep telling people is like a Venn diagram. So what things overlap, and he's using those ideas to create a new architecture that isn't just like plain boring 1960s construction next to, flip back here to this beautiful house. By the way, we are keeping those round things. Most of the doors on this house, these are different kind of doors, and they're all broken glass and metal, but most of the doors are rotted through. They just have been abandoned for so long that they're not savable, and so they will all get a similar treatment, whatever we do for all of them. So this one, these would get sort of a curved top. The rest of them, the doors don't have this curved top, but they'll get a curved top, and they will sort of match the rest of our doors, and but blend in and not take away That's what we want to do, is like if we put something new in, we want it to only make it so that your eye goes to the old more. Does that make sense? You can see this little, I don't know, people have called it all different things, from a little chapel. I think that's maybe a bad translation, but it's where they would have put a local saint or their family saint or Mary or Jesus in there. We're not particularly religious, but we love the idea of having this little statue. So it's likely that it might not stay there. We have to see. It's really kind of in the way where it is. And we'd like it to still shine. We probably will remove the cross from the top so that we're not offending anybody. But, you know, it's funny because it's in a very Greek-like building, and I really do want to save it. The only reason I wouldn't save it is if we try to move it, because we decide it needs to move, and it is falling apart. So it could be that we only end up saving parts of it. I don't know, but I think it'll be a project for me. Now I'm going to swing us around into what is the very open dining room. And I'm hoping you can hear me okay. I've got my mic on today because I'm like, even though I'm in this dining room, I'm just like as much outside as I am inside. And here's sad news. This ceiling had to come out. So this was a ceiling that existed once here. Well, actually, this didn't exist at all. This was probably part of a terrace first, and then they built walls on. And they built walls in a very interesting pattern. So this is lava stone and terracotta bricks, and they did this like really lovely detail of almost striped. I think you can see that on the camera. And then at some point they made it an actual room, or at least an open room. We think there were beams here, and then they raised the roof again, and then they put on top of it is our roof terrace that sees 360. Now this ceiling is coved, or was coved, but they've taken out this corner, but I'm trying to like see if you can tell. It's just sort of, they put a couple bricks in there and then just made it curved. So it isn't like a vaulted ceiling, and it wasn't really done correctly, and there's a whole bunch of cracks in it. It's not one of the better ceilings. It has damage. So we were okay with this coming off. This was done much more recently, and some parts very simply, and this is not where we decided to put our money. But one of the things we want to do is clean up this wall, give it a little bit of a sanding because some of the paint is peeling off, but we'll have to sand off the blue and red, which were some marks for where they were going to demo or not demo. And my hope is to actually paint a sort of landscape view over this, because, and there'll of course be Etna in that landscape sort of painting, because the rest of the this room here is going to have doors, so it's going to feel like you're outside. So that'll be a full door, and a full door, so you'll be like you're outside. So you'll look outside there, and the other side behind me would be painted. But not only are we figuring out what we can save, like cleaning this up and saving the old finishes of this and painting over it, so we're leaving some history there. And by the way, this has been, I think, like 3 or 4 colors, so it's like which one do you want to restore it to? But we're also now looking at keeping this wall as stone. It needs some cleaning up, so they'll come in and chip some of this off, but it's a beautiful looking wall. They can put like a poly sort of coating on it, just a total clear coating, totally affordable, will keep this looking beautiful, and adds this just like little extra element of the handiwork that was put into this building, being hand built stone by stone. Let's see, other things that we're taking out, just to go against what I'm saying, is this ceiling. And part of it, again, is that there are some pretty big cracks in it. The walls were painted with a gloss paint at some point, which did not like it here at all. So we're going to have to take that off. And then, well, why are we demoing these? I mean, this is heartbreaking a little bit to me. I'm going to zoom out here. because I loved these built-ins. Now we saved the doors, but what we found out is that this is reinforced, this whole thing can be open. And so now instead of having a show kitchen and a working kitchen, we can have a bigger single kitchen. It'll let more people be able to see our favorite little stove here. We had a lot of damage. So over this, and this were these little mini vaulted ceilings, and there was some mold up there because that was just plaster. And you can see they use cane. Over here, they're using something else that's woven to make these vaults. I'm gonna go into the vaults in a second, but what we had to take that stuff down. And actually this back wall here was the worst spot where, like, every time we went out that door, rocks were falling on our head. So OSHA, if that exists here in Italy, is very happy we took that out. But we are keeping this. We're gonna keep that. Why? We're not gonna use it all, but we're gonna refinish this so it'll be black and brass, which would be its original colors. I've been working on pulling all the old paint they put off on it over the years, and we'll bring this back to life so that people can see that. And then we'll use this for our inspiration for the kitchen. So when you're all done, you'll be like, wow, I can't believe they had such a big old kitchen here. But this used to be the dining room anyways, before they built on a dining room. So, like, it's hard to figure out what you're gonna say. But our ceilings are precious to us. And we're saving those all. We have to reinforce these walls because they're crumbling, and we want them to be solid because we're rebuilding the roof, and that's one of the important walls to do that. By the way, through this brick wall isn't, I don't know what they did here, but on the other side is the bathroom, and that is a closet in the little bathroom. My little room maybe is a dressing room, it's going to become a bathroom. We can't keep those doors, but we're going to build something very similar to those doors. You can see, well, if they were closed, you could see the neighbors across the street through them because they are very beat up. They don't close. They've gotten bigger. They've swollen because water's gotten in them. They've broken. The hinges are barely holding on, but we will keep that general look. We'll keep the stones in the bottom. We will keep the balcony railings because they're beautiful. We actually have to have one of the railing hooks. One of them is missing, so we'll have to have a new one made. But I mean, it's so cool what's in here. Why that's in there, I don't know. This is the back of that pink safe that's in our living room. I discovered yesterday even more old wallpaper. So this was under the wood trim. So when they took the doors off, which are in the backyard being saved. So anyways, we are keeping as much of this as we possibly can. Some of it we're keeping. When we can't keep the original stuff or we don't know it's not there, then we're trying to keep the next best thing, which is, you know, even the sort of condition of the wall. Everything will be clean, by the way. But this is one of those places we're putting the cube. I use this 2 sets of quotes. But really what we're doing is we're trying to solve the problem of this room. I always want to sing, how do you solve a problem like Maria when we get to this room? Because it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the doorway I'm standing in. 5 doors off of one little hallway. There's no place to put a piece of furniture. But this would have been where you walked up, and this is the door you would have knocked on. There was a doorbell on it. So this is how you would have come into the house before. So it was sort of an entryway. It had a little coat hook. It has weird electricity, big levers over there. But it also has a lovely ceiling that needs to be cleaned. So how do we make this work? And oh, by the way, we need a bathroom because there's no where to go to the bathroom if you come and visit unless you go through one of our bedrooms. So what we decided, the cube thing that we've talked about in our room by room, is that we're just going to build a room that's going to be, we're basically turning this room into a real hallway, sort of, but we're going to save that ceiling. So we're only going to make it as tall as this so that you can still see the ceiling above. And there'll be a little bathroom, and it'll go a little bit into this room as well. And you can just walk in here and walk in there, walk in on that side, because it doesn't need a door anymore. You just walk into it. We're not all locked up. So we can open that up, and this allows us to keep this beautiful ceiling intact and that beautiful ceiling intact. And you know, this door, it'll have different doors, but it's really like a small part, but a genius solution to helping us add a sink and a toilet so that our guests can come visit and don't have to hold it until they go home. We're gonna change this color here because it's a horrible paint choice they made. It's just like peeling off. We also found out that we didn't have to get rid of that ceiling. We thought we were going to structurally, but it looks good. Anyway, what am I coming down to? What am I trying to prove in this little, it's totally not a rant. It's like, I'm excited to tell you guys, like, I'm sorry I didn't do a good job telling you before what we're keeping and what we're not keeping. So let me turn this back around and I can finish my little story, and then I want you to ask me all of the questions. All right, let's turn this around. Okay, so what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that if I could save this house exactly as it is or was, and didn't have to change anything except give it a really good clean, you know, I would have done that. But we can't, and we need this to be usable. So there's some basic things we need, like a bathroom, like closets, or you need to put an armadio up. So I can build a closet that's sort of unobtrusive, or I can buy a big piece of furniture. I can buy an old sofa that won't be comfortable, nobody wants to sit on, or not even a sofa, a divan, a little settee. Or I can buy a comfortable couch that people will want to spend time in a room with that. So, you know, let's not talk about my weird furniture choices and art choices. They're all over the place. They're old, they're new, they're somewhere in between. They're based on things that make us happy and make our guests happy. But rest assured, I promise you, we are saving everything old in here that we can. Remembering costs, like I'm not going to spend $7 million on this house because I don't have $7 million. I don't have $1 million. But we're looking for ways to showcase this and build a beautiful new story for this house. And I really wanted to sincerely, wholeheartedly apologize to those of you who were like really trying to enjoy our channel, which it just brings me so much joy to share this stuff with you. So I want that for you and for me, but I was like not being clear enough about what it is we're saving and what we're doing. So we're marrying the old with the new that exists. We're fixing the things that are broken. We're trying to save the things that can be just saved, at least stabilized. So talking about some of the frescoes, at least stabilizing them, keeping them from getting any worse. When we had a couple of new floors, that there are newer floors in this house that didn't go with this house at all, but were popped in sometime in the 60s or whatever, 40s, 60s. We are trying to find homes for them so they can live on, but we can put something older and more appropriate in, or refiguring our folds. We're saving every old floor that was in here, old, you know, like Cimentino, not the newer stuff that doesn't go with like its ceiling. We're saving so much. And then we also have to make use of all the spaces that wouldn't have been lived in. So turning the wood storage room into an office and turning the garage into my ceramic studio. It doesn't take much. We just kind of need some electricity and a sink and, you know, some lighting and stuff like that. But we hope you feel like if you came over, you would be going back in time. But then you would also be amazed at like how cool and up to date these people were, because they had electricity before there was electricity, and they had plenty of toilets. So I hope that we get a ton of comments on this video. And I know it's a little unusual. I don't even know how I'm going to label it. What kind of picture? I'm going to probably put a picture like that on. Because I love that people took the time to leave us comments and ask us good, hard questions. And I know they were a little uncomfortable asking them too, and they were still totally supportive, which was kind. That's very nice. And your mom taught you well, or your dad, or your aunt, or grandma, somebody in your life taught you how to give constructive criticism, and I'm so glad they did. And I'm so sorry, again, that I did not make it clear how important it is that this place has old stuff to save. In our last house in the United States, the only thing we could save was an old beam, because a lot of the stuff, horses had lived in there, and there was like horse pee in the woods, so we couldn't save that stuff. And the rest of it was a garage, so there wasn't much we could save. We saved everything we could in that house, which was like 3 things. This house, I can save like 90% of it, and we are. I'm pretty proud of that, and I'm doing what I can to feel like I deserve to own this beautiful, wonderful jewel here in Sicily, and I'm so glad you guys are around with us for the ride, and thank you for the feedback, and leave me more. Until next time, ciao ciao, thank you, arrivederci.